Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. In this video, let us learn about how we can style text in CSS. So for this, I would like to cover things pertaining to typography. So what do you mean by typography? So it basically covers the style and aesthetics of the printed matter. Now printing matter like headings, paragraphs in an HTML page or any form of textual content. So let us start with styling the text in CSS. So let us create a new folder and name it as text and create two files, index.html and styles.css. Now we have a couple of properties that we can make use of for formatting text. So let us first understand the color property. So this color property is used to define the color for your text. So the way we specify the color is either by using a color name or its hex value or an RGB value. This we saw in the video on colors and gradients. We want the color to be green, then in that case we can set the color to either green, which is the name of the color, or we can set the color to its hex value, so something of the form say 00FF00, which is the hex value for the green color, or we can set the color property to the RGB value for the green color, so RGB 0,255, 0. So now head over to index.html file that we just created, and in here let us quickly scaffold our basic HTML boilerplate. So type exclamation and press tab. Working with text. Let us link our CSS file to our HTML file, styles.css. Now right here let us add a couple of headings and paragraphs which we'll later play with using CSS. So let us add an h1 with some text properties in CSS, and then add a paragraph lorem 100. Now let us head over to styles.css. So in here the very first thing that I would like to do is to apply a text color for our entire document. So for this, target the body element and let us give this a color of light gray, so color #CCC. So if you give this a preview, you can see both our H1 and P elements are now light gray in color. So now let us add a background color to our HTML document and give this a black shade. So background color and set this to black. So give this a preview and this is what we get. Now the next property that I would like to show you is the text align property. Now the text align property is used to set the alignment of our text in horizontal direction. Now the default value for this is left, but we can set it to right or center. So what I want to do is I want to align the h1 element to center. So for this, let us target the h1 element and set the text align property for it to center. So h1 text align center. Now if you give this a preview, you can see that our main heading is now aligned to center. We can also set the text align property to justify, which is the default alignment that you must have seen being used in newspapers or magazines. So now let us see the next CSS property that we can make use of with text, which is the text-decoration property. So the text decoration property is kind of used to decorate your text. So let us say we want to underline our h1 heading. So for this we can set the text decoration property to underline. So text-decoration and set this to underline. So let us give this a preview and you can see we have a thick line right below our text. We can also set the text decoration property to none, which is the default. So set this to none and this is the default one. So the underline is now gone. Next we can also set this to line through, which strikes through our text. So set text decoration to line through and give this a preview. So this is how it looks. Lastly, we can also set this to overline, which is used to decorate our text with a line, not from the bottom, but instead from the top of the text. So set this to overline and let us give this a preview. Now let us proceed to the next CSS property that we can make use of with text, and that is called as the text-transform property. So for this, let us target the P element and use the text transform property on it. So for the P element, let us set the text transform property to uppercase and give this a preview. So the entire text that we have in the P element is now transformed into its uppercase version. Now let us set this to lowercase and then give this a preview. Now you can see each and every letter that we have in our P element is now transformed into its lowercase version. Next, let us say we want the first letter of each word to be capitalized. For this, we can set the text transform property to capitalize. So let us do this, capitalize, and give this a preview. So now you can see the first letter for each word is now capital for our paragraph element, right? Next, let us see how we can specify some space between the characters that we have in our text. So for this, we can make use of the letter spacing property. So let us say we want to give a spacing of 2 pixels between each of the letters that we have in our H1 element. So for this, let us go right at the rule where we are targeting the H1 element and set the letter spacing for it to 2 pixels. And now let us give this a preview. So now you can see there is a 2 pixel spacing between the characters that we have in our H1 heading. Next, we have the line height property that we can make use of to define spacing between our lines. So for this, on the H1 element, let us set the line height to 2. So give this a preview. Lastly, we also have the word spacing property, which we can use to define the spacing between the words that we have in our text. So for the P element, let us set the word spacing to 10 pixels and give this a preview. So this looks ugly, but this is how you can space the words that you have in your text. Now before ending this video, let us discuss one more CSS property that we can use to add shadow to our text, and that is the text-shadow property. So let us target the H1 element and give this a text shadow of 1 pixel, 2 pixel, and let us give the color as light gray. So let us give this a preview to see how it looks. So this was all I wanted to cover about text in this video. If you liked the video, do give it a thumbs up or comment down below if you have any query. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the very next one.